You're listening to Bigfoot Society podcast, hosted by our captain, Jeremiah Byron, where it's all Bigfoot all the time. Have you ever had the urge to do more, to be more? Now you can by joining Bigfoot Society on the Patreon. Get ad-free episodes and even member-only episodes. Take part in movie night and even live video chats. Interact behind the scenes with Jeremiah and other Patreon members like me, Leia. The powerful podcast goes on, and you may contribute a verse in our Patreon community. Carpe diem. Seize the day, Bigfooters, and make your lives extraordinary.
Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. The following interview was recorded on October 10th, 2024.
It's Josh.
Hey, Josh, this is Jeremiah. Do you want to be referred to as Josh during this?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Is it okay if I'm recording right now?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, dude, I mean, this is going to be a whole different thing because usually I put a nice song and dance at the beginning, like, hey, here we are. But I'm just going to say, well, dude, tell us what happened. I mean, tell me what you told me in Messenger just an hour ago. Yeah.
So forgive me, I'm a little rattled still. I guess the thing to know about me is I hunt like pretty much all year long. I'm out in the woods. I've always been like a Bigfoot enthusiast, but I wanted to believe, but I've never seen anything to give me any kind of indication that the Sasquatch is real. I mean, I listen to all your shows. I love hearing the stories. I've always been hopeful, but I've never seen anything. And for a guy who spends as many hours as me in the woods hiking around, I haven't seen anything, you know? So I've been elk hunting. I'm muzzleloader elk hunting in Washington State. The season's 7 days long. This is the 6th day of the season, so tomorrow's my last day. I've been averaging about 12 to 14 miles on foot behind Weyerhaeuser locked gates. And today I decided to go into an area I haven't been in about 4 years. And I hiked in there, and it was pretty uneventful. I didn't see any elk. All the elk sign I seen was pretty old. And so I just kind of sat in the clear cut where I had cell phone service and kind of browsed the internet. And about every 5 minutes, I'd look up and I'd start glassing. I'd glass for about 15 minutes. And then I'd kind of go back to my phone. I really take a lot of time to pick apart everything with my binoculars. I have a Swarovski 12 by 50, pretty high-end optics. So I can see just about everything moving. And this year I decided to buy a thermal. So I also have a thermal so I can kind of catch stuff and then I can look at it through my binos. And I seen a really nice buck walking down the road on the other side of the clear cut. And I wanted to get a better look at it because you don't really see a lot of nice bucks around here. So the wind was blowing down. So I kind of snuck around to the edge of that clear cut. And like I said, the wind was blowing pretty strong. And I couldn't see the buck anymore. He went into the timber. And I really wanted to get a better look at him. So I pulled up my thermal and I could see him in the timber. And then I put my glass on him. And somewhere in between there, I lost sight of him. So I decided, the wind's really strong. He's not going to smell me if I creep in below him. And so I sat there and kind of thought about it for a few minutes. I wasn't really hopeful to see any elk come out. So I snuck down into the timber and I started scanning with my thermal and I wasn't seeing anything. And then I seen this faint kind of white spot about 100 yards away, but it's pretty thick timber. And I thought, oh man, that's that buck. So I pull up my binos and I'm looking, and I can't see it. And I pull up my therm and I'm looking, and I can see it, and I'm making mental notes like, okay, it's like the third branch up next to this mound, and I'm kind of doing the math in my head to find this thing. And I pick up my thermal and I find it again, and pick it again, and I'm really trying to break this apart and grit it and see this buck. And then I see something I never expected to see. It, the best way I can describe it is it's like a monkey. Its face looked like a monkey. It, like, if you watch like what is it? I can't remember the name of that movie with the apes on it where they like take over. That's what it looked like. It had a really feminine face, really pronounced lips, had black and gray hair. It was like grooming itself. I could see, I couldn't tell if it was like grooming its hands or if it was eating something, but that's all I seen was its face, and I could see that it was real interested in whatever it was doing. It was putting something in his mouth. I couldn't tell if it was its hand, like I said, like it was grooming itself, or if it was eating something. And I just thought, whoa, I can't believe what I'm looking at right now. And, I sat there for about 3 minutes watching it, and I said, you know what, I'm going to back out. I do not want this thing to see me. And so I just backed out of the timber, and this road is a road I had to walk down to get to the trail to hike out to my truck. So I walked all the way around and snuck out and made sure I stayed downwind and snuck through the timber to get I probably went a half mile out of my way to get to the trail, and then hike back about another mile and a half to the dugout road in the gate where my pickup was. And when I got back to my pickup, I was completely covered in sweat and shaking and sick to my stomach. And I've never had anything like that happen to me. But on my way out, I found a tree in the trail that was snapped in half, probably about a 6-inch around alder tree. And when I was cutting through that clear cut, I found a track that was way bigger than my foot, and I wore size 14, and I took a photograph of the track and of the tree, and I also have my GPS coordinates that shows my trail that I made tonight when I went on my hunt. So that's about all I got. I'm still pretty in shock. After that, I left the woods, which is unlike me, and I called my best friend, and I told him what happened, and we're both just in disbelief on the phone because I don't ever leave the woods until it's dark, and especially with one more day of my elk season left. About 5-6 o'clock's when the elk start feeding out, and I left at about 4:30, made it back to my truck at about 5:15. So, I mean, it was pretty serious for me to want to leave, and I don't think I'll ever go back in that spot again.
Wow.
That's I don't know. Like, it wasn't something I ever thought would happen. And I never in my wildest imagination thought it would happen like that if it did happen. It just makes me wonder how many times I've been, miles back in the backcountry and walked right by something.
I want to make sure that listeners get that this just happened hours ago today.
Yeah.
Roughly how many hours ago?
It happened around 4:20, somewhere right around there. And it's 7:20 right now.
3 hours.
So just a few hours ago, this happened.
Oh my goodness.
And It's one of those things, every time I talk to somebody who's out in the woods, I ask them if they've ever seen anything weird and stuff. The general consensus with the outdoorsmen that I hang out with and hunt with, that none of us have really ever seen anything. And, I think that this thermal imaging unit that I have is going to really make me see a lot of stuff that I never seen before. And it really makes me wonder what I've walked by and, what I haven't seen. Because like I said, I usually walk in the dark with a headlamp, and that's how I walk out, is in the dark with a headlamp when I'm out there.
I know you shared with me a little bit location wise. Is that,
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with sharing location wise the area, or are we keeping that? Yeah, you are? Okay.
So I live in Washington. I hunt on the coast, everywhere from about Cathlamet down to Chinook, Washington. There's tons of timber company gates, and I usually hike back up into the coastal mountain ranges. This particular location was in between Abernathy and Germany Creek. And like I said, I took a cutoff to get me in closer. It's kind of the end of a spur road that they dug out when they abandoned the road to let the timber grow. And so I came in one area to get me closer to another area. I kind of just took the abandoned road to get closer to Germany Creek. And so that way I didn't have to walk like 6 miles up the logging roads to get to the clear cuts I wanted to get to. Instead, I only had to walk 3 miles. So it put me at a pretty good advantage to get back there, because the pressure is really tough right now and there's a lot of people hunting. So I wanted to get as far ahead as everybody else I could get and get away from people. And that's kind of what I was wondering. I don't know if it's because it's so far back in there. Not a lot of people go in there, so I'm kind of thinking that that's kind of why it was so comfortable. I don't think this thing had any idea that I was there.
Sure.
Because I was keyed up. I'm in, full solid camouflage, so I'm wearing olive drab clothing. I'm playing the wind, and I'm not walking down the gravel or anything. I'm watching every step I take and moving very slow. Because I'm trying to sneak up on elk and everything else. So I don't think it ever seen me, and I wasn't scared in the moment. But as soon as I backed out and I crept up the road and dove into the clear cut and started getting out of there, I started getting weirded out. I started feeling sick to my stomach. I was like, what if this thing knows that I seen it? Or what if there's other ones that seen me that I didn't see, and now they're on to me and, going to follow me out. I felt like I was followed out, but I didn't see anything or hear anything out of the normal.
Did you experience any other weird physical effects during that same time where you were feeling sick to your stomach, things like that?
Nothing other than heavy sweat, and I wasn't tired. Today's one of those days I didn't hike necessarily that far, and towards the end of the season, I'm in pretty good shape. I hike a lot, especially with a heavy pack on. So it was pretty strange to me that I was profusely sweating. But I just kind of chalk that up to just being kind of nervous and not really knowing what to think. And I think that played into it a lot. But I was definitely very cognitive about everything I was doing to get out of there, and taking mental note on which parts of the trail I could be, ambushed on, or, what could happen. There's a lot going through my head on that 35 to 45 minute hike out, and I was moving fast.
Man.
Like I said, my Onyx, my GPS data, I'll send you the snapshot of it, and it will not only show you the loop that I took, it will show you how I picked up my speed on the way out.
Oh yeah.
it kind of tells the story a little bit better too. It kind of adds context. You can kind of see what I did. It shows that I went around a mile and then I sat there for a few hours. And then it shows you when I went over to the other side and crossed into the timber, and then all of a sudden I just got out of there really quick.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I mean, I use Onyx for this show all the time just because it's such a great. I mean, they're not a sponsor, but guys, if you're listening, let's party. I mean, it's such a and one of the icons you can use in Onyx is a Bigfoot icon, dude. They're totally
That's what my buddy told me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And when I was telling my buddy in the story and I sent him the icon, he said, "How come you didn't use the Sasquatch icon?" I was like, "What?"
It's
I
funny.
had no idea that they had one. But like I said, when I was creeping through that clear cut to get out of there, because I was trying to make sure I stayed out of sight, off the road, and I didn't want this thing to see me.
Mm-hmm.
I happened on that foot track. And I got a picture of it next to my size 14. And I mean, you can see it just plain as day. And I've never found a footprint. And I'd like to think I'm usually always looking, because that's how I get to know the elk and the deer, and I'm always looking for rubs, and I'm always looking for tracks. Above everything else, I'm an outdoorsman and a woodsman. And, everything that happened to me tonight has definitely changed the way I think about everything. And it's changed the way I'm going to be moving through the woods. And I mean, I don't know if you're super familiar with a muzzleloader, but it's not the most effective weapon.
No, it's not. I know what you're talking about. But it is not super effective.
I only had 2 reloads with me.
Oof.
And for the people listening who don't understand, a muzzleloader, you shoot it, it's a primitive weapon. And then you got to, pour your powder in, and you got to put your projectile in, and then you got to put your primer in. It takes time to load, especially under pressure. And normally I carry a 10 millimeter pistol when I'm with me out in the woods hunting. And, it's just, I'm tired. I've been trying to cut down on weight because I've just been out hammering in the mountains. So today I just decided, you know what, I'm not even going to pack a pistol. I never need one. I'm just going to take my muzzleloader and a couple reloads, and we're just going to go find an elk. And I felt completely unprepared for what I experienced today. And it's going to change the way I recreate in the outdoors. I don't know if they want to hurt people or if they want to intimidate people, but I don't want to find out.
So a few things. I want you to reach out over the next few days if anything out of the ordinary happens. And
okay,
I'm just gonna leave it at that. I mean, I would just be curious. Right now, are you okay with going into the woods again, or is it just that area? Probably not going to go there again.
I'm telling you, man, I spend all year thinking about this time of the year. It's my passion. Everything. It's my entire life besides being a father. It's everything I think about. I have tomorrow left for my tag. I'm going out in the woods. I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to hike in somewhere. But I am nervous, and I am not going back to that spot.
Right.
And not without a few buddies with me and some serious firepower. And, I might go out there and try to go. I know exactly where it was sitting at, where it was standing at, where that area is. And I would really like to get in there and kind of tear apart the topography and kind of get some better understanding and ideas. But at this point right now, I'm not ready to do that.
I totally get it. I mean, you're a hunter, you're not a researcher. So yeah, it totally makes sense. But you have the exact area. So maybe at a later time, you might be able to go back in there if you had some buddies with you. And, but man, I get it. Wow.
I wouldn't want to go in there by myself.
No.
The places that I go into, Jeremiah, something could happen to you, and they might not find you for a long time, or not at all. I mean, thick, overgrown, old growth timber, with massive, holes in the ground and root wads out and cricks, and it's rough country. And I can't believe that after all these years it took till today to see something when I least expected to see anything.
It's so wild.
On an otherwise very uneventful day.
Oh, my goodness.
And I've probably called 4 or 5 of my buddies, and the first things I said, hey, I'm not crazy, and don't repeat this, but I need to tell you what happened to me tonight.
Right.
And when you spend a lot of time out in the woods, Jeremiah, like sometimes you spend 10 hours out in the woods with your buddies, picking apart every tree and bush and branch, looking through binoculars, and you sit there and you talk about all your hunting stories and all the weird things you have or haven't seen. And none of the people I know or talk to or hunt with, none of us have ever seen anything like that.
I was just doing a basic search real quick for people that have anyone Sasquatch near German Creek, and something does come up, but it's just from a news article. A guy named Paul Graves, he's gotten like hundreds of reports. That's cool because it does tell us that you're not the only one that has seen a Sasquatch near this area of Longview.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts even a little more to your report.
So to put this into perspective for you, Longview is a couple miles from Rainier, Oregon.
Yep.
I've kind of mentioned, I think I've sent you a Facebook message or something. You had that one gentleman on who had stories from Rainier, Oregon.
Yes.
We're just a bridge away. I mean, literally, you can see Rainier from Longview.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I found your show, was the Rainier episodes. That gentleman who lived in Rainier and had some experience as a child or whatever.
It's wild to think about, because perhaps the one that you saw might even be related to the ones in that story somehow. You have no idea, right? But
no clue.
Yeah, it's just, it's wild.
Nobody talks about it openly. Anything that you hear, just kind of old, logger tales and stuff. There's like a stigma behind it almost. So,
so you are going to forward some or send some stuff over to me after this later.
Where can I send that to you?
My email is bigfootsociety@gmail.com if an email is easier for you.
Okay. I can send you an Onyx pen with my loop.
Okay.
And an Onyx pen of where it was. And that way you have an exact understanding of where it happened.
Oh, awesome.
And you kind of see my trail.
Yes.
And then, like I said, I really want you to see the photograph. The photographs could be nothing, but on my way out, I seen that stuff, and I'm like, hey, this is it. This isn't a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. And by the time I made it to my pickup and got down the road, I was like, I know exactly who I need to reach out to.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if you can send the Onyx stuff through email. I've never tried to do that before, but
okay.
I don't know if you have more knowledge about that, but
I've sent it through text. I've never sent it on an email, but I can try.
Oh, you can text it then. Yeah, you have my number right now.
Can I text it? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's what I'll do.
Okay. Yep, that'll work.
But like I said, that's all I got for you, buddy. I'm glad to get to talk to you. I never thought I would have any reason to call you, but here we are.
I hope that you're able to just kind of chill out tonight. And are you kind of coming off of the adrenaline off of it? Okay,
I am.
Yeah, I am. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Just kind of chill out a bit.
Yep.
I might do, this is just really, I've never had one that is this recent.
Yeah.
So I might see if I can think of some people in the area. I might message you later if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do some thinking about some stuff. But yeah, I'll be looking for your text, and I'll check out your stuff you're gonna send over. But yeah, wow, Josh, thank you so much for reaching out.
Absolutely, no problem at all. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Wild stuff.
So we'll be in contact.
You got it. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be talking to you later, Josh. Yep.
All right. Bye.
A local researcher has been contacted and is investigating this report further. Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.